Welcome back to living in Austin, Texas. As many people know, Austin is always changing. It is ever evolving. And according to some people, that is for the better. According to many people, that is for the worse. And so in this video, that is what we will be talking about. What you'll learn your first time living in Austin, Texas. Stay tuned. Hello again, everybody. After a 9-month hiatus, we are back. One of the original Austin channels. My name is Frank. I am the man in the chair. I make the videos happen with my yappin', and I am partnered with our killer, our closer, licensed agent, Caleb Reitmer. And together we are a ragtag duo who help people just like you wanting to relocate to the greater Austin area find that perfect spot. So do not hesitate. Whether you are 9 days away or 90, reach out to our team. Whether you shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day, because it is what we love to do. So yes, as mentioned in this video, we are talking about what you'll learn your first time living in Austin, Texas. The good and the bad. I have a lot of yapping in store for you guys, so let's get right to it and start with what I feel is one of the more important things, one of the first things you will notice living here. That would be the culture of both Austin and Texas, because quite frankly, you cannot have one without the other. Between the two, let's start first with Texas itself. Now, assuming you are relocating from perhaps the Northeast or the Pacific Northwest or California, it is going to be quite different, at least in most cases, than what you are used to. Now, granted, later in this video, I will be talking about affordability differences. I will be talking about tax differences, weather differences, but on the point of culture, just broad general things you will find are going to be different. For example, the size of Texas. That is going to throw you in terms of distance from point A to point B, how wide open and spread out everything is, the size of parking lots, the size of grocery stores, so on and so forth. You'll find that its size surprisingly does influence its culture, because with a state that is so large and spread out, you will have an energy that is more laid back, an energy that is going to be warmer. People are going to be friendlier. Your neighbors are going to chat you up in the mornings. They're going to lend you their gardening tools. Things like that might throw you if you're used to living in a place where everyone kind of minds their own business. But here's the thing, culturally speaking, there is a sharp contrast with Austin, Texas itself. Once you get into the Austin metro, it is in many ways like a different world. Politically speaking, whether you love that, whether you hate that, it's going to be quite different. And also just the energy as well. And what I mean by that is Austin was once this cool town, this hippie town, keep Austin weird, all about UT, just kind of Matthew McConaughey smoking a joint, Austin vibes, but in Texas. Now it's become this California version of Texas. For one, it is much more densely populated, which affects traffic and construction, which, yes, we will talk about later in this video. But more than that, it is a transplant culture, meaning a majority now, honestly, used to be 50-50. Now a majority of people you meet in Austin, Texas are no longer from Texas. They are from California. They are from New York and every state in between those two coasts. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because we all love diversity. We all love inclusivity. We all love evolution and growth. But what happens to a culture at that point? You know, if you have a lot of people who are from the LAs of the world, they bring that kind of attitude and vibe with them. And along with the densely, rapidly increasing population, you have an increase in prices as well. Things get more expensive. And it's not just because of the people who are living here, it's because of the companies that are flocking here. Now we have Amazon, now we have Elon Musk, now we have Google, now we have all of these tech companies that came from Silicon Valley to now Silicon Hills and Austin that are feeding that lack of affordability, that are feeding, it's not just people who are relocating here for the hell of it. People are coming here to work for those companies. So it's just this whole big snowball of relocation, which is an honor because Austin is pretty awesome, but at the same time, it's no longer what it once was. I think the ultimate point I am making here, though, the larger point, is that if you were looking at Austin as this Texan place, but perhaps a bit less Texan than the other places you might not be attracted to, and are thinking it'll be a nice change of pace from wherever you come from, you might be in for a rude awakening. People will come here and experience the lack of scenery you have in California, for example, the lack of weather you have in California, but you'll start seeing a lot of the same problems, the homeless crisis, the crime increase, the panhandlers, things that remind you a little too much of home. because of how much it's changing. That's the point I'm trying to make. So do with that what you will. Up next, we've got a topic that I briefly alluded to earlier, but that I will now elaborate further on, which would be traffic and construction. You guys, I have been making videos on this channel for 3 years now, 4 years now. It gets fuzzy. In that time, I have gone from a rinky-dink green screen to a home studio. In that time, we have had 2 presidents. In that time, I have had my hair go from short to long, and so many other things. All the while, the construction is still happening. All the while, the traffic is only worse and worse and worse. I think when I first started this channel, I was talking about how the traffic, the rush hour gets bad as early as 4 or 5 when it used to be 6 o'clock. Then I think a bit later into this channel's history, I was talking about how, it's starting at 3:30, it's starting at 3. Now in 2024 with 2025 being a few weeks away, I kid you not, it's starting to get congested around 1:30 or 2, at latest 2:30. It has gotten so bad. And I've talked about this at length before, where they're trying to fix the problem by doing construction to make the roads wider, have more lanes, things like that. But that only congests the traffic more. And it's this cycle that feeds the problem, because Austin, first and foremost, was not supposed to have this many people. It was never going to be a Houston. It was never going to be a metropolis like Dallas. It was just a college town. And so now they're playing a game of keep up, but they're always behind. And, you kind of think of construction as temporary, right? Like, oh, this will be done eventually. As mentioned, I have been making videos since 2021. 2025 is almost here. It's only gotten worse. It will only continue to get worse, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's at the point of LA yet. I've lived in LA. I know what it's like. It is not that bad, but damn it, is it as close as ever. And I would estimate, given another 10, 15 years, it will be pretty much exactly the same. So expect that, whether you're gonna live in the heart of downtown, whether you're gonna live removed from the city, even removed from the city, that's where all the people are flocking to as well. They have no choice but to go north, but to go south. It's everywhere. So Godspeed. Up next, let's talk about the weather. And you might be asking yourself, Frank, are you really going to talk about the weather right now? Yes, I am. It is more of a thing than you think. I speak from experience, not just of living here most of my entire life, but our clients who we've helped relocate here and close, and the clients we've lost who get here to tour with Caleb. We've got a whole thing set up to look at homes, to meet with builders, to meet with lenders, etc. They get here and are immediately turned off by the weather. And it's not to say that they had no idea it would be hot, that it's the South. Of course, you intellectually know that. But to experience it is different. And not just for a vacation, not just for a 3-day stay to look at homes. Living here, I mean, if you don't like it in your brief stay here, newsflash, we don't have all 4 seasons here. Your life is going to be very sweaty very soon. So let me elaborate on that. As mentioned here, it is not as humid as Houston, but the air is still very dense. It feels like when you open an oven and the heat just smacks you. It's not a dry heat like Phoenix. So take that into account. To the point where if we do have a high of 100 degrees, it'll say feels like 110, right? If it's 90 degrees, it'll say feels like 100. Get used to that. Now, the worst part about it though is it's not like we're the only state with triple digits, right? And I'm not trying to say it's triple digits all year, but most of the time it begins end of May, if not sooner. There've been Mays where the first week is like 98 degrees, and it goes through September, October. And even in September, October of this year, it was still low 90s, high 80s. Lots of November was low 80s, high 70s. Again, November. In December, we finally had pretty consistent days in the 60s, some 50s with lows in the 40s. I sound like a meteorologist right now. I do apologize. And then it gets cold in like January, February. And by cold, I mean wet, cold, not like snowy, beautiful. It's just miserable. Sleet if it freezes. You'll have temps in the 30s, sometimes the 20s. And then spring happens in March-ish, but then it expedites because we're in the South, and by April, May, you're back to the 80s, and then onwards to the 90s and triple digits. That is it. That is what you can experience. And again, you might get it intellectually, conceptually, but it is one thing to know something conceptually. It is another thing to know something experientially. And just speaking on behalf of past clients, be warned. Like, you have been warned. It is not something to take lightly, especially if you are used to proper, decent four-season weather wherever you're coming from. All right, moving on from that riveting subject of weather, let's now talk about something you will absolutely learn living in Austin, Texas, and that would be the subject of affordability, or in many cases, lack thereof. And so this is your heads up. In many cases, depending on budget, of course, you might find that Austin itself is not going to work. Once upon a time, it would. It was bang for your buck. It was the hot spot. It was #1 in the country for relocation. It's still up there, but the reason was because it was this treasure trove of affordability and awesomeness, right? And you didn't necessarily want to be stuck in cowboy Dallas or humid Houston, you know. Now, I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, whether you're wanting to rent, whether you're wanting to buy, I mean, we focus on the buying end, but even apartments. I mean, your best shot, if you want to be close enough, as mentioned earlier, is about 15 minutes removed, and onwards or away from there, it'll get cheaper and cheaper. So that's the bad news, right? As mentioned, all the people flocking here, all the companies coming here, it's just getting to the point where people are being priced out, like a San Francisco scenario. Good news is, once you leave the city, if you're not hell-bent on living in the city downtown, you are going to have a multitude of options that are all of a sudden significantly more affordable. You're going to have your Huttos of the world, you're going to have your Mainers of the world, your Pflugervilles. Those are going to be in the high 2s, low 3s, into the 4s. Then you're going to have your Round Rocks, your Cedar Parks, where the best school districts are, suburban Haven, where it's going to be in the 4s and the 5s, and of course upwards if you're getting something nice. And you're going to have your Georgetowns, which is going to be this charming, quaint town about 45 minutes north of the city. Lovely place to live. That's going to be in your 4s and 5s. Different bit of a feel, though. It's more conservative. It's more right-wing, although it is starting to be more balanced out with people flocking there. You have your Lago Vistas. I mean, you have your Liberty Hills. You have your Dripping Springs. You have these places that, yes, depending, are going to be maybe pricey in certain communities, certain neighborhoods, but in general, by default of not being Austin itself, will be more manageable, will be more affordable. And not just north. I mean, you have south as well. For example, if you want to live in San Marcos, Texas, which is roughly a halfway point between Austin and San Antonio, it's going to be more affordable, and you kind of have the best of both worlds with both cities, because San Antonio is fabulous. It has a lot to offer. But yeah, back to the whole point, Austin itself is priced like California. Not to say, though, by default of living in Texas, things are going to be cheaper, right? While we can all agree groceries are like the worst they've ever been in recent history, it's still going to be cheaper in Texas, even if still more expensive than it used to be, right? Gas is the same thing. Overall cost of living factors are going to be cheaper in Texas, but otherwise that is what you can expect. And ultimately, the too long didn't read of this entire subject would be that bad news, it's going to get worse, and it's in Austin. Good news, the greater Austin area is so big you will have a lot more selection than you think. All right, last but certainly not least, the most riveting subject of them all, I will try to keep it brief, would be property taxes. If you have been a long-time subscriber to this channel, you are one of the day ones, you know this is something I bring up as often as humanly possible so that people are not blindsided by those damn property taxes. The short and sweet version, if you're coming from a state where it might be 1%, 1.5%, 2%, in the greater Austin area, whether it is downtown or whether it's the burbs, you're looking at 2%, 2.5%, 3%, oftentimes above 3%. That kind of feels like a second mortgage in a lot of cases. Not literally, you know, but Jesus Louises, it can be bad. And in terms of what you'll learn living here is that, yeah, every year you're going to be paying those, and it's going to be perhaps a bit crippling if you didn't do your due diligence or listen to Frank's yapping ahead of time, right? So just be mindful of that. Interest rates, we all know that's been quite the headache recently, but the good news is for a lot of buyers, you are able to negotiate those interest rates. That is something my business partner Caleb knows a lot about. So there is hope there, and I do think we can all kind of see things starting to change in that department, which is good news. But yes, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the property taxes. I know you're probably expecting me to talk about other Austin-y things, right? Like, ooh, you're gonna learn we have amazing art exhibits. that's all fine and dandy, but more than a lifestyle channel, this is a real estate channel, and at the end of the day, we're all concerned about our pockets, and that is what I am here to discuss. So yeah, the more you know. And so there you have it, at least the broad generalized version of it. Looking at my notes, looking at my bullet points, I'm realizing I was pretty negative for almost all of that, so I do apologize. I do love living here. It is a fabulous place to live. People come here for a reason, and most of them, I would imagine, are happy here, unless you're being priced out. But on this channel, I do try to play devil's advocate. I've always maintained that blunt, brutal honesty at risk of dissuading you, at risk of disenchanting you, because I think we can all agree that type of realtor, that kind of gross, sleazy energy of everything is perfect here, you're gonna love it, is unhelpful, right? And I'm not even a realtor anymore. I don't even have a license. I just make these videos, so I have no obligation to be that type of dude. I just say it as it is, and hopefully it hasn't rubbed you the wrong way. If it has though, perfect. Austin might not be right for you. And if Austin is right for you, if you have an idea of what you're looking for, or perhaps you need guidance, again, that is what we are here for. Helping people just like you who are wanting to relocate to the greater Austin area, find that perfect spot. So again, do not hesitate, whether you are 9 days away or 90, reach out to our team, whether you shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call, any day of the week, any time of day. And in case you're new here, as you might have realized by now, on this channel, we talk about living in Austin, Texas, the good, and yes, the bad. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel and ringing that little bell to get notified anytime we put out a new video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Click the like button if we've been providing any value for you. Share it with anybody you know, and until the next one, you guys, it's good to be back. My name is Frank. This is Living in Austin, Texas, and we will absolutely catch you later.